The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Liam Whitmore's penthouse office. He stood there, staring at his reflection in the glass, adjusting his designer tie for what felt like the 100th time. At 35, he had more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes, but something was missing. "Mr. Whitmore, your 9 o'clock is here," his assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Send her in," Liam said, turning away from the window. Another meeting. With another woman his mother had set him up with. Caroline something or other, daughter of some oil tycoon. The woman who walked in was exactly what he expected. Perfectly styled blonde hair, designer dress, and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Within 5 minutes of small talk, she had already mentioned her recent shopping trip to Paris 3 times. "I just love the view from up here," Caroline purred, sidling closer to him. "Daddy's building is nice, but nothing like this." Liam felt that familiar emptiness creeping in. Every woman who walked through his door saw the same things. The Whitmore name, the billion-dollar company, the lifestyle magazine's most eligible bachelor. None of them saw him. Later that evening, Liam sat at his private bar with his best friend Mike Torres. They'd known each other since college before the Whitmore fortune had tripled under Liam's leadership. "I can't do this anymore," Liam said, swirling the ice in his glass. "Every single date is the same. They're all just waiting to get their hands on the company checkbook." Mike, who worked as a high school teacher and had never cared about Liam's money, leaned back in his chair. "Then stop dating socialites. Meet someone normal for a change." "Right," Liam scoffed. "And how exactly am I supposed to do that? The minute anyone hears my last name, they Google me. It's over before it begins." Mike's eyes lit up with that look Liam knew meant trouble. "So, don't tell them your last name. Go undercover." "What are you talking about?" "I'm serious," Mike said, sitting up straighter. "I know this great girl, Emma. She works at my local diner. She's smart, funny, works hard, completely normal. Let me set you up, but we'll keep it simple. You'll just be Liam, regular guy, works in business." "That's insane," Liam protested. But something about the idea tugged at him. When was the last time someone had looked at him and just seen Liam? The next day, he found himself staring at his closet full of $1,000 suits. What did regular guys wear on dates? He pushed past the designer labels until he found some older clothes. Simple jeans, a blue button-down shirt, brown leather boots he'd bought for a ranch vacation he never took. Looking in the mirror, he barely recognized himself. No tie, no fancy watch, just a man. It felt good. The diner Mike had chosen was in a quiet neighborhood, far from the upscale restaurants where Liam usually dined. The neon sign buzzed overhead as he walked in, his heart pounding. What was he doing? And then he saw her. Emma Carter stood behind the counter, her brown hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, laughing with an elderly customer. She had a warmth about her that made his rehearsed introduction stick in his throat. "You must be Liam," she said, walking over with a genuine smile that made her whole face light up. "Mike's told me exactly nothing about you, so this should be interesting." Her honesty startled a laugh out of him. "He's told me nothing about you either. I guess we're even." "Well, my shift ends in 5 minutes. Want to grab a coffee and figure out why our mutual friend thinks we should meet?" For the first time in years, Liam felt nervous about a date. This woman didn't know about his penthouse or his company. She was just looking at him, waiting to discover who he was. They sat in a booth by the window, and Emma got them both coffee in chipped mugs. She didn't try to impress him with stories about exotic vacations or expensive hobbies. Instead, she told him about her dream of opening a small bookstore someday, about the regular customers whose coffee orders she knew by heart, about the night classes she was taking in business management. "I know it's not very exciting," she said, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Running a bookstore isn't exactly a glamorous dream." "I think it's perfect," Liam said, meaning it. "Following your dream takes courage, no matter what that dream is." The hours flew by. Emma was funny in a way that caught him off guard, smart in a way that made him think. She didn't play games or try to figure out his net worth. She just talked to him, listened to him, saw him. As they walked out of the diner, the guilt started to creep in. He was lying to her. Every word about working in business was technically true, but the omission of his real identity felt heavy. "This was wonderful," Emma said softly, looking up at him with those honest eyes. "But guys like you don't stay. Life has taught me that." "What do you mean, guys like me?" "The good ones. The ones who seem too good to be true." She smiled, but there was sadness in it. "I had fun tonight, Liam. Thank you for that." He watched her walk away, his heart pounding. He should let her go. It would be easier, cleaner. She'd never know he was Liam Whitmore, never feel betrayed by his lie. But as he stood there under the streetlight, he realized he couldn't. For the first time in his life, someone had seen past everything, even if they didn't know what they were seeing past. Emma had looked at him and seen just Liam, and he wanted more of that feeling. The question was, how long could he keep up the charade? And what would happen when she inevitably discovered the truth? Liam couldn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Emma's smile, heard her laugh, remembered how it felt to be just a regular guy for once. He picked up his phone at least 10 times to call Mike, but what would he say? That he was falling for a waitress who had no idea who he really was. The next morning, his assistant handed him his usual schedule: board meetings, investor calls, charity galas. But all he could think about was the diner and its chipped coffee mugs. "Cancel my lunch," he told her. "I have somewhere else to be." The diner looked different in the daylight, smaller somehow. Emma was there, carrying plates to a table of construction workers. She nearly dropped them when she saw him. "Liam, I didn't expect to see you again so soon." "I couldn't stay away from the coffee," he said, sliding onto a stool at the counter. The lie felt bitter in his mouth. Emma smiled, but he could see the uncertainty in her eyes. "Just the coffee?" "No," he admitted. "Not just the coffee." She brought him a cup without asking, remembering how he took it from the night before. "I'm on my break in 10 minutes. Want some company?" Those 10 minutes felt like hours. Liam watched her work, saw how she remembered everyone's names, how she slipped an extra piece of pie to an elderly man who was counting change for his bill. When she finally sat down across from him, her cheeks were flushed from running around. "So what kind of business do you do?" she asked. "You never really said last night." Liam's heart skipped. "Investment management," he said carefully. It wasn't a lie exactly. "But I'd rather hear more about your bookstore plans." Emma's eyes lit up. "Well, I've been saving for 3 years. I have about half of what I need for a down payment on a small storefront. The place I really want is over on Maple Street. It used to be a bakery, but it's been empty for months." "What's stopping you from getting a loan for the other half?" Her smile faded a little. "Banks aren't exactly lining up to lend money to waitresses with student debt. But I'll get there. I'm good at being patient." Liam wanted to write her a check, right then and there. He could buy the whole building without blinking. But that would mean explaining everything, and he wasn't ready to lose the way she looked at him. "Maybe I could help," he said slowly. "With the business plan, I mean. That's what I do, after all." "You'd do that?" The hope in her voice made his chest tight. "Of course, we could meet after your shifts, go over the numbers." And that's how it started. 3 nights a week, they sat in the diner after closing, spreading papers across the Formica tables. Liam taught her about profit margins and overhead costs, carefully simplifying everything he'd learned getting his MBA. Emma soaked it all in, asking smart questions that impressed him more each time. But it wasn't all business. They talked about everything: their families, their dreams, their fears. Emma told him about losing her parents young, about being raised by her grandmother who taught her to bake. Liam shared stories about his father's expectations, carefully editing out the parts about inheriting a fortune. One night, as they walked to her car, their hands brushed. Emma looked up at him, and before he could think better of it, he kissed her. It was soft and sweet and perfect, until his phone buzzed with a message from his assistant about tomorrow's board meeting. Reality crashed back in. What was he doing? Every moment they spent together just made the eventual truth more devastating. "I should go," he said quickly, stepping back. "Liam?" Emma's voice was small. "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, just work stuff. I'll call you tomorrow." He practically ran to his car. Not the Ferrari, but an old Honda he'd bought specifically for these meetings. As he drove home, his phone kept buzzing. Crisis at the office. his mother wanting to set him up with another socialite, his brother warning him about the company's stock prices. The next day, he tried to focus on work, but his mind kept wandering to Emma. She sent him a text around noon. "Missing my business advisor. The diner's numbers aren't going to crunch themselves." He smiled at his phone, then quickly hid it when his mother burst into his office unannounced. "Darling, why haven't you returned my calls? The Hendersons' daughter is in town and they're expecting us for dinner tonight." "I can't, Mother. I have plans." She looked at him like he'd grown a second head. "Plans? What could be more important than meeting Rachel Henderson? She's perfect for you, comes from the right family, understands our world." Our world. The words hit him like a slap. What would his mother say if she knew he was falling in love with a waitress? "I said no," he repeated firmly. "I have a business meeting." His mother's eyes narrowed. "You've been different lately. Distracted. The board is starting to notice. The company's doing fine. It's not just about the company, darling. It's about our legacy. The Whitmore name means something in this city." After she left, Liam sat at his desk for a long time, staring at Emma's text. He was living in two worlds, and they were about to collide. Either he had to end things with Emma now, before she got too attached, or he had to tell her the truth and risk losing her forever. That night, instead of meeting Emma at the diner, he drove to Mike's house. "I need your help," he said as soon as his friend opened the door. "I'm in love with her." Mike's eyes widened. "With Emma? Already?" "Yes, and I don't know what to do. Every day I don't tell her the truth, I'm lying to her. But if I tell her, she'll think everything was fake," Mike finished. "That you were just playing some rich guy game." "Exactly." Liam sank onto Mike's couch, head in his hands. "What do I do?" "You tell her the truth," Mike said simply. "Emma's not like the women you usually date. She cares about people, not money. But the longer you wait, the worse it'll be. I can't lose her, Mike." "Then don't lie to her anymore." But when Liam checked his phone, there were 3 missed calls from his brother. The company's biggest competitor was making moves for a hostile takeover. The board was calling an emergency meeting. Once again, his two worlds were pulling him apart, and sooner or later he would have to choose. The emergency board meeting stretched late into the night. Liam sat at the head of the table, his tie loosened, watching his brother James pace back and forth. "Sterling Industries is making their move," James said, pointing to the charts on the screen. "They're buying up our shares through shell companies. If we don't do something fast, we'll lose control of everything Father built." Liam's phone buzzed again. Another message from Emma. "Everything okay? Haven't heard from you in 2 days." "Are you even listening?" James snapped. "This is our family's legacy at stake." "I'm listening," Liam said, putting his phone away. But rushing into a defensive merger isn't the answer. The truth was, he couldn't focus. All he could think about was Emma waiting at the diner, probably wondering if she'd done something wrong. He hadn't even called to cancel their business planning session. When he finally left the office at midnight, he drove to the diner on autopilot. It was closed, dark except for one light in the back. Through the window, he could see Emma sitting alone, going over the papers they'd been working on. He knocked softly on the glass. When she looked up, the hurt in her eyes made his chest ache. "The door's open," she called out. Inside, the diner smelled like coffee and pie, just like always, but something was different. The warmth was gone. "I'm sorry," he started. "There was an emergency at work." 2 days, Liam." Emma's voice was quiet. 2 days without a word. I called, I texted, nothing. "I know I should have. Do you know what I did yesterday? I went to look at that storefront on Maple Street. The realtor said someone made an offer, cash, full asking price." She wiped at her eyes. "I guess some dreams aren't meant to come true." Liam's heart stopped. He knew exactly who had bought that building. His mother had mentioned something about expanding their real estate portfolio. "Emma, No, it's okay. I get it. This was fun for you, right? Playing business advisor to the silly waitress with big dreams. But when real life called, I wasn't important enough for even a text message." "That's not true." The words burst out of him. "You're the most important thing in my life right now. You're all I think about." Emma stood up, gathering her papers. "Then why do I feel like I don't really know you?" Sometimes when you talk about work, you get this look like you're editing yourself. Sometimes you check your phone and your whole face changes. What aren't you telling me, Liam? This was his moment. He could tell her everything. About who he really was, about why he'd hidden it, about how falling in love with her was the most real thing that had ever happened to him. But before he could speak, the diner's door chimed. James walked in, still in his business suit, face dark with anger. "So this is where you've been sneaking off to," he said, looking around the diner with barely concealed disgust. "While our company is under attack, you're playing house in some greasy spoon." Emma looked between them, confusion clear on her face. "Liam, who is this?" "I'm his brother," James said, before Liam could answer. "And apparently, the only Whitmore who still cares about our family's legacy." The color drained from Emma's face. "Whitmore, as in Whitmore Industries, as in..." She turned to Liam, realization dawning in her eyes. "As in the billionaire family that just bought the building I wanted for my bookstore." "Emma, please let me explain." "Explain what?" Her voice cracked. "That everything was a lie? That you're not just some guy who works in business, but the CEO of one of the biggest companies in the country? That while I was sharing my dreams with you, your family was busy crushing them?" "I didn't know about the building," Liam said desperately. "I never meant to hurt you." "Then what did you mean to do?" Tears were falling freely now. "Was this some kind of experiment? See how the other half lives? Or maybe you just needed a break from your real life, and I was convenient entertainment." "No, I fell in love with you." The words hung in the air between them. Emma shook her head slowly. "How could you love me when you never let me know the real?" "You?" She grabbed her purse and walked out, the diner's bell chiming with painful finality. Liam moved to follow her, but James grabbed his arm. "Let her go. We have bigger problems. Sterling Industries called an hour ago. They're making their move tomorrow morning. If we don't stop them, we lose everything." Liam jerked his arm away. "I just lost everything that matters." But even as he said it, he knew he had a choice to make. His family's company employed thousands of people. Their charitable foundation funded hospitals and schools. Could he really throw all that away for love? He stood in the empty diner, the ghost of Emma's smile haunting him. On the table, she'd left the business plan they'd worked on together. Her dreams, written in her neat handwriting, now stained with tears. His phone buzzed again, more urgent messages about the company, about his responsibilities, about the life he was born into. But for the first time, he wondered if that life was worth the price he'd paid for it. He'd lost the one person who had seen him for who he really was, even if who she saw wasn't entirely real. Outside, the city sparkled with a million lights. Somewhere out there, Emma was driving home, probably, hating him. Somewhere else, Sterling Industries was preparing to destroy his family's legacy. Tomorrow he would have to choose, but tonight he sat in Emma's empty diner and let himself mourn what could have been. The next morning, Liam sat in his office, staring at the business plan Emma had left behind. His secretary's voice crackled through the intercom every few minutes with urgent messages, board members demanding answers, reporters asking for statements, his mother insisting he take her. Calls, he ignored them all. "You look terrible," Mike said, walking in without knocking. "I'm guessing from Emma's texts. Things didn't go well last night." Liam looked up. "She's texting you. Someone had to make sure she got home okay after your brother's little performance." Mike sat down across from him. "She's hurt, Liam." "Really? Hurt?" "I know." Liam ran his hands through his hair. "I messed everything up. And now Sterling Industries is about to take over my family's company, and I can't even bring myself to care." Mike picked up the business plan from Liam's desk. "You know what's funny? This is actually really good. Emma's dream isn't just a dream. It's a solid business plan. The kind any bank would approve if they bothered to look past her being a waitress." Something clicked in Liam's mind. He sat up straighter. "Say that again." "What? That banks are short-sighted idiots?" "No, about Emma's plan being solid." Liam started typing furiously on his computer. What if there was a way to fix both problems at once? Mike looked worried. "What are you thinking?" Before Liam could answer, his brother burst into the office. "The Sterling Industries CEO is downstairs. They're not even waiting until the market opens. They want to present their takeover plan now. Good, Liam said, standing up. That's exactly what I want too. The Sterling Industries team sat around the conference table, looking smug. Their CEO, Richard Sterling, barely hid his grin as he opened his presentation. As you can see, our offer is more than generous, Sterling said, pointing to numbers that would make most people dizzy. We'll absorb Whitmore Industries completely. Of course, we'll keep some of your key personnel. I have a counter-proposal, Liam interrupted. Everyone turned to stare at him. His mother, sitting in the corner, looked ready to faint. Instead of a hostile takeover, Liam continued, what if we created something new? A partnership focused on small business development, real people, real dreams. Sterling laughed. Small business? That's your plan to save your company? No, Liam said firmly. That's my plan to save both our companies. Think about it. What's the biggest criticism both our firms face? That we're out of touch, that we only care about big money. But what if we created a division specifically focused on helping small businesses succeed? He pulled up Emma's business plan on the screen, carefully hiding her name. Look at these numbers. This is a solid business plan for a bookstore. But because the person behind it works as a waitress, no bank will touch it. There are thousands of people like this, smart, hardworking people with great ideas who just need someone to believe in them. The room was silent. Sterling studied the numbers, his smugness fading into genuine interest. How would it work? He asked finally. We create a joint fund, small business loans with reasonable terms, mentorship programs, real investment in local communities. Liam's heart was racing. Instead of fighting over who gets the bigger piece of the pie, we make the pie bigger. James stood up, angry. This is ridiculous. Father didn't build this company to help waitresses open bookstores. No, their mother said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. Your father built this company because no one would give him a loan to start his first business. Because he was just a mechanic's son with big dreams. She smiled at Liam. He would have loved this idea. The next few hours were a blur of negotiations, lawyers, and paperwork. By sunset, instead of a hostile takeover, Whitmore and Sterling Industries had created something new. The Dream Makers Initiative, a billion-dollar fund dedicated to helping small businesses. You did it, Mike said afterward, as they stood in Liam's office. You saved the company. Yeah, Liam said quietly. But I still lost. Emma, did you? Mike handed him his phone. On the screen was a news alert. Mystery buyer returns Maple Street property to market. I called in some favors, Liam's mother said from the doorway. The building's available again, for the right business plan, of course. Liam stared at his mother. Why? She walked over and straightened his tie, just like she used to when he was young. Because I saw you fight for something today. Not because it was expected, but because you believed in it. And if this waitress inspired that in you, well, maybe I should meet her. She won't talk to me, Liam said. She thinks everything was a lie. Then tell her the truth. All of it. Show her that even if you didn't tell her who you were, you never lied about what you felt. Liam looked at Emma's business plan again. Every page was filled with her hopes, her dreams, her hard work. He'd fallen in love with those dreams as much as he'd fallen in love with her. I need to go, he said, grabbing his keys. But when he got to the diner, Emma wasn't there. The other waitress, Jenny, gave him a cold look. She quit this morning, Jenny said. Said she needed a fresh start. Liam felt like he'd been punched. Did she say where she was going? Why? So you can lie to her some more? He deserved that. He deserved all of it. But he couldn't give up. Not when he'd finally figured out what really mattered. Please, he said. I know I messed up, but I love her. And today she helped me save not just my company, but maybe hundreds of small businesses like the one she dreams of opening. She did that without even being there, just by being who she is. I need to tell her that. Jenny's face softened, slightly. She's at her grandmother's house, the little blue one on Oak Street. But if you hurt her again, I won't, Liam promised. This time I'm telling her everything. The little blue house on Oak Street looked exactly like Emma, warm, inviting, and completely unpretentious. Liam sat in his car for a long time, watching the porch light glow in the growing darkness. For the first time in his life, he was terrified. One conversation would either fix everything or destroy his last chance at real happiness. Finally, he got out of the car. But before he could reach the porch, an elderly woman came out. She had Emma's eyes and the kind of face that had earned every one of its wrinkles. "So you're the young man who broke my granddaughter's heart," she said, sitting in one of the porch rocking chairs. "I'm Martha, and you're Liam Whitmore." "Yes, ma'am." There was no point in denying it. Emma's inside, crying over some old photo. Albums. She does that when she's hurting. Says it reminds her that pain doesn't last forever. Martha's eyes were kind but firm. "Before I let you in there, you're going to tell me why." "Why what?" "Why you lied to her. And don't give me any nonsense about protecting your privacy. That girl in there deserves the truth." Liam sat in the other rocking chair, the wood creaking under him. "I was tired," he said finally. "Tired of being Liam Whitmore, of everyone wanting something from me. Then I met Emma and she just wanted to talk about books and dreams and life. She saw me. Just me. But it wasn't just you, was it?" Martha asked softly. "You kept a whole part of yourself hidden." "I know. I thought I was protecting both of us at first. Then I fell in love with her, and every day it got harder to tell the truth. I was afraid of losing the way she looked at me." Martha was quiet for a moment, rocking slowly. "You know, Emma's parents died when she was 12. Car accident. Left her with nothing but some old books and a dream of owning a bookstore someday. I did my best, but we struggled. She learned young that life isn't fair." "I'm sorry," Liam said, his heart aching for young Emma. "Don't be sorry. Be honest. That girl in there has had enough people leave her. If you're going to be another one, walk away now." "I'm not leaving," Liam said firmly. "I love her. Today I changed my entire company because of what she taught me about dreams and hard work. I want to tell her everything, and then I want to help her build her bookstore. Not because I'm rich, but because her business plan is brilliant." Martha smiled for the first time. "Well, why are you telling me all this instead of her?" Inside, the house smelled like cinnamon and old books. Emma sat on a worn couch surrounded by photo albums. When she saw Liam, she quickly wiped her eyes. "Grandma, how could you let him in?" "Because sometimes people deserve a chance to explain," Martha said. "I'll be in the kitchen. These old ears aren't what they used to be, so you might have to talk extra loud for me to accidentally overhear anything." When they were alone, the silence felt heavy. Emma looked smaller somehow, hurt and angry and beautiful all at once. "I'm sorry," Liam said, sitting on the other end of the couch. "I know those words aren't enough, but they're true." "Why are you here, Liam? Or should I call you Mr. Whitmore?" "I'm here because today I changed my entire company because of you, because watching you work so hard for your dreams made me want to help other people achieve theirs." He took a deep breath. "And because I love you." That was never a lie. Emma's hands tightened on the photo album in her lap. "How can you say that? You lied about everything." "Not everything. Not about the important things." He moved closer, pointing to a photo of young Emma in the album. "Tell me again about this picture." She looked down at her 12-year-old self sitting in a library. "It was right after my parents died. I used to hide in the library because it was quiet and safe. That's where I decided I wanted my own bookstore someday. You told me that story on our third business planning session. You also told me that your favorite book is The Secret Garden because it's about finding hope in unexpected places. You drink your coffee with 2 sugars but no cream. You hate thunderstorms but love the rain. You sing along to old country songs when you think no one's listening. I know you, Emma. The real you. But I don't know you," she whispered. "Then let me tell you everything. Starting with what I did today." Slowly, he told her about the meeting with Sterling Industries, about how her business plan had inspired him to create the Dream Makers Initiative. He explained about his father starting from nothing, about growing up with the pressure of a legacy. "The building on Maple Street is back on the market," he said finally. "Not because I pulled strings, but because it's the right thing. Your business plan is solid, Emma. Any bank would be crazy not to fund it. So what are you saying? You want to be my knight in shining armor? Swoop in and save the poor waitress?" "No," Liam said firmly. "I want to be the man who believes in you as much as you believed in yourself. The man who fell in love with you over chipped coffee mugs and late-night business planning sessions. I want to be real with you, Emma. No more lies, no more hiding. From the kitchen, they heard a suspicious sniffling sound. Martha's voice called out, "Don't mind me, just cutting onions in here." Emma's lips twitched, almost a smile. "You hurt me, Liam. I know. And I'll spend every day making up for that. If you'll let me. But I need you to know something. Meeting you changed everything. Not just for me, but for every person who's going to get a chance through the Dreammakers initiative. You did that, just by being yourself and believing in your dreams." "I don't know if I can trust you again," Emma said honestly. "Then let me earn it back, starting right now." He pulled out his phone and pulled up the Dreammakers website. "Look at the first approved business plan." Emma's eyes widened as she read her own words on the screen. "This is my plan, but I didn't submit it. The board approved it this afternoon, not because you're connected to me, but because it's good. Really good. You did this, Emma, all of it." She stared at the screen, tears falling again. But these were different tears. "My bookstore," she whispered. "It's really going to happen. If you want it to, the loan is approved, the building is available. All it needs is you." From the kitchen, Martha called out, "These must be some really strong onions." Emma laughed despite herself, and the sound made Liam's heart soar. She looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since finding out the truth. "I'm still angry," she said. "I know. And hurt. I know that too. And if I give you another chance, things have to be different. Completely honest." Liam's heart stopped. "Are you saying—" "I'm saying I need time. But maybe, while I'm setting up my bookstore, we could talk. Start over. For real this time." "I'd like that," Liam said softly. "I'd like that very much." Martha appeared in the doorway, wiping her eyes. "Well, thank goodness those onions are all cut. Now, who wants some cinnamon rolls? They're fresh from the oven, and it seems like we have something to celebrate." As they sat in Martha's warm kitchen, eating cinnamon rolls and talking about Emma's bookstore plans, Liam felt something settle in his heart. For the first time in his life, he wasn't playing a role or living up to expectations. He was just a man, sitting with the woman he loved and her grandmother, planning for a future that felt more real than any billion-dollar deal ever had. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. Emma threw herself into preparing for her bookstore, while Liam focused on launching the Dreammakers initiative. They saw each other occasionally, always with Martha present, taking small steps toward rebuilding trust. One morning, as Emma stood in the empty store on Maple Street, she could finally see her dream taking shape. The walls had been freshly painted a warm cream color, and the wooden shelves were being installed that afternoon. The front window would be perfect for displaying new releases and creating cozy reading nooks. "It's really happening," she whispered to herself, running her hand along the old brick wall. "Of course it is," Martha said from behind her. "You've worked hard for this. Sometimes I worry it's all too good to be true." Emma turned to her grandmother. "The loan getting approved so quickly, the building becoming available again. You think Liam pulled strings?" Martha asked, settling into one of the old armchairs they'd bought for the reading corner. "Didn't he?" "Actually, no." Mike walked in carrying a box of books. "I was there when your loan application went through. The board loved your business plan." Liam didn't say a word, just sat there looking proud. Emma felt her cheeks warm. Mike had become a regular visitor, helping with the heavy lifting and serving as a bridge between her and Liam. She knew they talked about her, but Mike never pushed. "Speaking of Liam," Mike continued casually, "the Dreammakers initiative is having its official launch party tonight. All the first-round recipients are invited, including you." Emma's heart skipped. "I don't know." "You should go," Martha said, firmly. "Show those stuffy business types what a real entrepreneur looks like." "I don't have anything to wear to something like that." Martha's eyes twinkled. "Check the back room." Emma walked to the small office space and gasped. Hanging on the door was a beautiful blue dress, simple but elegant. A note was pinned to it. "Every businesswoman needs a power outfit. Love, Grandma." "How did you afford this?" Emma asked, touching the soft fabric. "I've been saving for your First business outfit since you were 12, Martha said. Though I had a little help from Mike's sister with the shopping, these old legs don't do well in fancy stores anymore. That evening, Emma stood outside the Grand Hotel where the launch party was being held. The dress fit perfectly, and Martha had helped her style her hair in soft waves. Still, she hesitated at the entrance. "You look beautiful," a familiar voice said behind her. Liam stood there in a tuxedo, looking more handsome than any man had a right to. But his eyes were what caught her attention. They held the same warmth they had when he was just Liam, the business advisor who believed in her dreams. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything." "You did all the hard work," he replied. "I just helped create a program that should have existed all along." Inside, the ballroom was filled with people in expensive clothes, but Emma was surprised to see how many of them looked as nervous as she felt. A woman in a carefully pressed suit was talking about her new food truck business. A man in his first tuxedo described his plans for a neighborhood gym. "They're all like me," Emma realized. "Regular people with dreams." "That's the point," Liam said. "Dreams don't belong only to people born into money." Richard Sterling approached them, champagne in hand. "Ah, Miss Carter, your business plan was one of my favorites. A bookstore that also serves as a community. Space for literacy programs. Brilliant," Emma blushed. "Thank you, Mr. Sterling. Please call me Richard. We're all partners in this venture." As the evening progressed, Emma found herself deep in conversation with other Dream Makers recipients. They shared stories of struggle and hope, of late nights planning, and early mornings doubting. She forgot to be nervous about which fork to use or whether she fit in. From across the room, Liam watched her. She was radiant, gesturing animatedly as she described her vision for children's reading programs. Several board members were taking notes. "She's quite something," his mother said, appearing beside him. "Yes, she is." Liam couldn't take his eyes off Emma. "Are you still disappointed I didn't marry a socialite? Darling, I haven't seen you this happy since you were a little boy playing in your father's office." She squeezed his arm. "Your father would have loved her, you know. She reminds me of how I was back when he was just a mechanic with big dreams." Liam turned to his mother in surprise. "You never talk about those days." "Because somewhere along the way we forgot what it was like to be the dreamers instead of the dream makers." She smiled sadly. "Don't let that happen to you, darling. Don't let success make you forget what it feels like to hope." Across the room, Emma looked up and caught Liam's eye. Her smile, warm and real, made his heart race, just like it had that first night in the diner. Later, as the party wound down, they found themselves alone on the hotel's terrace. The city sparkled below them, full of lights and possibilities. "I got another call about my reading program idea," Emma said. "The city library wants to partner with the store." "That's wonderful." Liam's pride in her accomplishments was obvious. "It's strange," she continued, looking out at the city. "A few months ago, I was just a waitress with a dream. Now I'm about to open my own business, talking to city officials about literacy programs." "You were never just anything," Liam said quietly. "That's what I saw in you from the beginning." Emma turned to him. "I'm still scared sometimes, not about the business. I know I can make that work, but about us." "I know." Liam moved closer but didn't touch her. "I think about that night in the diner every day, about how much I hurt you. But you've changed too," Emma said thoughtfully. "The old Liam Whitmore would never have created something like the Dream Makers Initiative. He wouldn't have understood why it mattered. Because of you. You showed me what real dreams look like. Not the kind that come with dollar signs, but the kind that come from the heart." Emma's hand found his, their fingers intertwining naturally. "Maybe we're both changing, growing." "Together?" Liam asked softly, hope clear in his voice. "Maybe." Emma smiled. "But this time no more secrets, no more hiding who we are." Above them, a shooting star streaked across the sky. Emma made a wish, then laughed at herself for being so romantic. "What's funny?" Liam asked. "Just thinking about how life changes. A few months ago, I was serving coffee and hoping for a small business loan. Now I'm standing on a fancy hotel terrace in a beautiful dress, about to open my own bookstore, talking to a billionaire who used to pretend to be just a regular guy. I never pretended with my feelings for you, Liam said seriously. That was always real. I know, Emma said. That's why I'm still here. Opening day of Emma's Corner books arrived on a bright autumn morning. Emma had been up since dawn, arranging and rearranging books, straightening the welcome banner, and trying not to panic. The store looked exactly as she'd dreamed it would, warm, inviting, with comfortable chairs, scattered between the wooden shelves and a children's corner, filled with colorful cushions. Stop fussing, Martha said, watching her granddaughter adjust the same stack of books for the 10th time. Everything is perfect. What if nobody comes? Emma's voice shook slightly. What if this was all a huge mistake? The bell above the door chimed, and Mike walked in carrying a huge arrangement of flowers. Special delivery for the newest business owner in town. Emma read the card. Believing in dreams is never a mistake. Liam. He wanted to be here, Mike said, setting down the flowers. But he thought you might want this moment to be just yours. Emma touched the flowers, gently. Over the past weeks, Liam had been careful to give her space while still showing he cared. Small gestures, thoughtful messages, never pushing for more than she was ready to give. More people started arriving. First just a trickle, then a steady stream. Local families with children excited about the reading corner, elderly couples browsing the classics section, teenagers checking out the young adult shelves. Emma's heart swelled as she watched her dream come to life. A reporter from the local newspaper showed up, wanting to do a story about one of the first businesses launched through the Dream Makers initiative. Emma found herself explaining her vision for more than just a bookstore, a community space where stories could bring people together. And how did you come up with the business plan? The reporter asked. It's impressively detailed for a first-time business owner. Emma hesitated, then smiled. I had help from someone who believed in me. By afternoon, the store was buzzing with activity. Martha had set up a small coffee station, serving cups to browsing customers. The first children's story time was a huge success, with kids sprawled on cushions, listening to Mike's dramatic reading of Where the Wild Things Are. Emma was ringing up a customer's purchases when the bell chimed again. She looked up to see James, Liam's brother, walking in. Her heart stopped for a moment. Quite a turnout, he said, looking around. I have to admit, I didn't expect this. Can I help you find something? Emma kept her voice professional. James picked up a book, turning it over in his hands. You know, I fought against the Dream Makers initiative, thought it was a waste of resources. He paused. I was wrong. What changed your mind? Seeing what it's done for my brother. James met her eyes. He's different now. Better. More like the kid who I used to talk about helping people instead of just making money. He set the book down carefully. I owe you an apology for that night at the diner. I was protective of our family's legacy, but maybe you're helping create a better one. Before Emma could respond, a group of children ran up to James, excited about something they'd found in the children's section. To her surprise, James knelt down to their level, listening seriously to their book recommendations. Your brother's not the only one who's changed, she said when the kids had run off. Maybe we all needed a reminder about what really matters. James pulled out his wallet and handed her a credit card. I'd like to donate 100 children's books to the local schools, if you can help me pick them out. By closing time, Emma's feet were aching, but her heart was full. The cash register had exceeded her projected first-day sales, and more importantly, the store felt alive with exactly the kind of energy she'd hoped to create. As she was locking up, a familiar car pulled into the parking lot. Liam got out holding 2 cups of coffee from her old diner. I thought you might need this, he said, handing her a cup. Just like old times. Emma took a sip. 2 sugars, no cream, exactly how she liked it. Your brother came by today. I know, he called me. Liam looked nervous. Was that okay? It was nice, actually. He's different than I remembered. We're all different now. Liam gestured to the store. Want to show me around? I've been dying to see it all day. Emma unlocked the door and led him inside. In the dim evening light, the store had a magical quality. Liam walked slowly through the aisles, touching books, reading titles, taking in every detail. The children's corner is amazing, he said. looking at the hand-painted mural of storybook characters. "Did you do this yourself?" Grandma helped. She used to be an art teacher, remember? They ended up sitting in the reading nook, just like they used to sit in the diner booth. Emma told him about the day, the customers, the stories, the moment she sold her first book to a young girl, who reminded her of herself at that age. "I saw the article about the Dream Makers initiative in the Business Journal," she said. 20 new businesses funded in the first month?" Liam nodded. "A food truck run by a former chef who lost his restaurant in the pandemic. A small tech startup, helping elderly people learn to use computers. A woman opening a dance studio for kids with disabilities. They're all amazing people with incredible dreams. And it all started because you pretended to be a regular guy and walked into my diner." "No," Liam said softly. "It all started because you were brave enough to share your dreams with a stranger." Emma looked around her store, her dream made real. "I never thought my life would turn out like this." Having second thoughts. "About the store? Never." She turned to him. "About us. I'm starting to think maybe everything happened exactly how it was supposed to." Liam's hand found hers in the dim light. "What do you mean? If you'd walked in here as Liam Whitmore, billionaire CEO, I would have been too intimidated to be myself. If I'd known who you were, I might have hidden my dreams, thinking they were too small for someone like you to understand." "Your dreams were never small, Emma. They were perfect." She squeezed his hand. "And now look at us. You're helping people achieve their dreams on a scale I never imagined, and I'm exactly where I always wanted to be." "Does that mean—" Liam's voice was hopeful. "It means I'm ready to try again, for real this time. No more hiding, no more pretending. Just us being exactly who we are." Outside, the streetlights cast a warm glow through the store windows. Inside, two people who had found each other through a lie were finally finding their way to the truth. And somewhere, in diners and workshops, and small offices across the city, other dreamers were starting their own journeys, not knowing that their lives too were about to change. 6 months after the bookstore's opening, Emma's Corner Books had become a neighborhood favorite. The morning, story times were always packed, and the weekend book clubs had waiting lists. But today Emma was distracted. She kept checking her phone, waiting for news from Liam. "He'll be fine," Martha said, watching her granddaughter pace between the shelves. Board meetings always run long. This wasn't just any board meeting. Today, Liam was presenting his plan to expand the Dream Makers initiative nationwide. Some board members thought it was too risky, too different from their usual business model. The bell above the door chimed, and Emma looked up hopefully. But it was only Mike, carrying his usual stack of papers to grade. He'd taken to using the quiet corner of the bookstore as his office hours spot. "Still no word?" he asked, settling into his usual armchair. Emma shook her head. "I should have gone with him. You know why he wanted to do this on his own," Mike reminded her. After everything with James last month, Emma remembered all too well. James had finally seemed to accept her relationship with Liam, even joining them for dinner at Martha's house. Then the rumors started, whispers that Liam was being influenced by that bookstore girl, that the Dream Makers initiative was just a way to justify their relationship. "My brother's success is his own," James had surprised everyone by announcing at a press conference. If anything, Emma Carter has reminded us what the Whitmore name used to stand for: helping people build better lives. The bell chimed again. This time it was Sarah, one of the Dream Makers recipients, carrying a tray of cupcakes from her new bakery. "Thought you could use these today," she said, setting them on the counter. "Any news?" Emma shook her head again. Sarah's bakery had opened 2 months ago, and she'd quickly become part of their growing Dream Makers family. Every recipient supported the others, creating a network of small business owners who understood each other's struggles. "Remember my opening day?" Sarah asked, arranging the cupcakes. "I was so nervous I burned the first batch of everything. Now I'm catering for the mayor's office. And my dance studio has a waiting list," added Maria, another dream maker who'd just walked in. "All because someone finally gave us a chance." Emma smiled, remembering how Liam had insisted on visiting every new business personally. He'd spent hours talking to the owners, learning their stories, understanding their challenges. This wasn't just a program for him anymore, it was a mission. Her phone buzzed, a text from Liam. "Meeting over, coming to the store, big news." Emma's heart raced. The way he'd written it, she couldn't tell if it was good news or bad. "He's on his way," she told the others. "Then we're staying," Sarah declared, pulling up a chair. "We're all in this together now." More Dreammakers recipients started arriving as if drawn by some invisible signal. The contractor who'd finally opened his own business, the former teacher who'd started an educational toy company, the young man whose eco-friendly delivery service was revolutionizing local shopping. The store was buzzing with nervous energy when Liam's car pulled up. Through the window, Emma could see him sitting there, just staring ahead. Her heart sank, but when he walked in, he was smiling. "They approved it," he announced to the crowded store. "All of it. The national expansion, the increased funding, the mentorship program, everything." The store erupted in cheers. Sarah started passing out cupcakes, and someone opened a bottle of champagne that had appeared from nowhere. "There's more," Liam said, taking Emma's hand. "The board wants to create a permanent position to oversee the initiative's community outreach. They think it needs someone who understands both business and dreams." He looked at Emma. "They want you." Emma's mouth fell open. "Me? Who better? You're already mentoring half the recipients informally. You understand what they're going through because you've been there. Plus, you have the business skills to back it up. Your store's numbers prove that." "But the bookstore would still be yours," Liam assured her. "You'd just be adding another dream to the one you've already built." Martha appeared at Emma's side. "I could help more with the store. Maybe even start that writing workshop for seniors we talked about." Emma looked around at the faces watching her. Her grandmother, who'd always believed in her, Mike, who'd brought Liam into her life, the Dreammakers recipients who'd become like family, and Liam, who'd changed his whole world to make room for dreams like hers. "When do I start?" she asked. The celebration lasted well into the evening. People shared stories about their businesses, their struggles, their successes. Emma watched Liam moving through the crowd, completely at ease with these ordinary dreamers who'd become part of his world. "Penny for your thoughts?" he asked, finally, making his way back to her. "I was just thinking about that first night in the diner," Emma said. "How different everything is now. Do you ever wish I'd just been regular Liam? That we could have had a simple love story?" Emma looked around at their wonderful, complicated life, the mix of books and business, dreams and reality, old friends and new family. "This is better," she said firmly. "This is real." Later, after everyone had gone home and they were cleaning up, Liam helped Emma reshelve some books that had been displaced during the celebration. "You know," he said casually, "there's one more piece of news I didn't share with everyone else." "Oh?" Emma looked up from the book she was holding. "The board wants to open a Dreammakers office in every major city." He paused, "including Paris." Emma's heart skipped. "Paris? I thought maybe, well, you've never been to Europe. And there's this little bookstore there called Shakespeare and Company. They let writers live above the shop in exchange for helping out. I thought you might want to see it. Get some ideas for the program." "Are you asking me to go to Paris with you?" Liam pulled something from his pocket, a small blue box. "I'm asking you to marry me, in Paris, where no one knows us as the billionaire and the bookstore owner, where we can just be Liam and Emma, two people in love." Emma stared at the ring, simple, elegant, perfect. Just like that first night when he'd walked into her diner, Liam was offering her a chance to be herself, to be seen for who she really was. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes to Paris. Yes to marriage. Yes to everything." As Liam slipped the ring onto her finger, the streetlights outside cast the same warm glow they had on that first night they'd sat in her store. But now, instead of two people finding their way to the truth, they were two people who had found their way to a whole new dream, one they would build together. Paris in springtime was everything Emma had dreamed it would be. The Shakespeare and Company bookstore had filled her with inspiration, its cramped shelves and hidden corners, giving her ideas for expanding her own store's community programs. But now, standing in front of the mirror in her hotel suite, all she could think about was the wedding that would start in less than an hour. "Stop fidgeting," Martha said, adjusting Emma's simple white dress. "You look beautiful." They had kept the wedding small, just family and close friends who had flown in from home. No press, no business associates, no society photographers, just the people who mattered most. "I can't believe we're really here," Emma said, touching the vintage pearl necklace Martha had given her. "Sometimes it feels like I'm going to wake up and be back in the diner dreaming all of this." "Nothing about this is a dream, sweetheart." Martha's eyes were misty. "You built this life yourself, one brave choice at a time." A knock at the door revealed Sarah, Maria, and other Dream Makers recipients who had become Emma's closest friends. They carried flowers and champagne, their excitement filling the room. "The garden looks amazing," Sarah reported, "and Liam is practically wearing a hole in the ground pacing." Emma smiled, remembering how nervous Liam had been when they first arrived in Paris. Not about the wedding, but about being recognized. He'd wanted this time to be just theirs, away from the pressures and expectations of their regular lives. But Paris had surprised them. Here they weren't the billionaire and the bookstore owner. They were just another couple in love, walking hand in hand along the Seine, discovering tiny cafes, getting lost in old bookstores. "Miss Emma?" A small voice came from the doorway. It was Sophie, the daughter of one of the Paris Dream Makers recipients. She held a small package. "Mr. Liam asked me to give you this." Inside was a copy of The Secret Garden, Emma's favorite book. A note fell from its pages. "Thank you for helping me find my own secret garden, where I could finally be myself. See you at the altar. Love, Liam." Tears threatened to ruin her makeup, but Emma didn't care. This was why she had fallen in love. With him, not the grand gestures or the fancy trips, but the quiet moments when he showed how well he knew her heart. The small garden they had chosen for the ceremony was filled with spring flowers. Chairs had been arranged in a semicircle, with an arch of roses marking the spot where they would say their vows. As the soft music began to play, Emma took Martha's arm. "Ready?" her grandmother asked. "I've been ready since that first night in the diner," Emma replied. Liam waited under the arch, looking more handsome than any man had a right to, but it was his smile that caught her heart. The same warm, genuine smile she had fallen in love with when he was just a stranger sharing coffee and dreams. Mike stood beside him as best man, and James sat in the front row next to Liam's mother, both of them beaming with genuine happiness. The Dream Makers recipients filled several rows, their presence a testament to how much their lives had all changed. "Dearly beloved," the officiant began, but Emma could hardly hear the words. She was lost in Liam's eyes, in the way he held her hands like they were the most precious things in the world. When it came time for their vows, Liam spoke first. "Emma," he said, his voice strong and clear, "before I met you, I had everything, except what mattered most, someone who saw me for who I really was. You taught me that real love isn't about what you have, but who you are. You showed me that dreams aren't measured in dollars, but in courage and hard work and faith." He squeezed her hands gently. "I promise to always be honest with you, to support your dreams as you've supported mine, and to never forget that the greatest fortune in my life isn't in any bank account, it's standing right here in front of me." Emma took a deep breath, fighting back happy tears. "Liam, when you walked into my diner that night, I thought I knew exactly what my dreams were. But you showed me that dreams can grow, that they can change, and become bigger than we ever imagined. You taught me that sometimes the best dreams are the ones we build together." She smiled through her tears. "I promise to always see you, not the name or the success or the expectations, but you. I promise to remind you of who you are when the world tries to make you forget. And I promise to keep dreaming with you every single day. By the power vested in me," the officiant said, "I now pronounce you husband and wife." Their kiss was sweet and perfect, accompanied by cheers and applause from their loved ones. As they turned to face their guests, Emma caught sight of Martha, wiping away tears with one hand while holding tight to Mike's mother with the other. The two women had become close friends, united in their joy for their children's happiness. At the reception, held in a charming old restaurant overlooking the Seine, James surprised everyone by making a toast. "When my brother first told me about the Dream Makers initiative," he said, raising his glass, "I thought he was crazy. But looking around this room, seeing all the lives that have been changed, the dreams that have come true, I've never been happier to be wrong. To Liam and Emma, thank you for showing us that the best dreams are the ones we share. Later, as they danced under twinkling lights, Liam held Emma close. "Happy?" he asked softly. "More than I ever thought." "Possible," she replied. "Though I do miss my bookstore a little." Liam grinned. "Good thing I arranged for us to visit the Paris Dreammakers office tomorrow then. They're opening 5 new bookstores across the city, and they could use some expert advice." Emma laughed. "You're mixing business with our honeymoon?" "Not business," Liam corrected her. "Dreams. And speaking of dreams," he twirled her gently, "what do you think about looking at some properties while we're here? Maybe a little Paris branch of Emma's Corner Books?" Emma's heart soared at the possibility. "You mean it? Why not? The Dreammakers initiative is going global. We could help people achieve their dreams in every city we visit." He pulled her closer. "As long as we do it together." As the Paris night sparkled around them, Emma rested her head on Liam's shoulder. From her grandmother's proud smile to the happy faces of their Dreammakers family, from the ring on her finger to the future spreading out before them, everything felt perfectly, wonderfully real. They had started with a lie, but found their way to the deepest truth, that love, like dreams, only grows stronger when you share it with others. 1 year after the Paris wedding, Emma stood in front of Emma's Corner Books, watching the morning sun reflect off the new sign, Dreammakers Community Book Center. The store had grown, taking over the space next door, adding a cafe run by Sarah and a dedicated event space for community programs. "Ready for the big day?" Liam asked, coming up behind her with 2 cups of coffee, still from their old diner, still made exactly the way they liked them. Today was the official launch of the Dreammakers Global Initiative. What had started as a simple idea in a small diner had grown into an international movement. Representatives from 20 countries were coming to see how a billionaire and a bookstore owner had changed the way big business could help small dreams. "I still get nervous speaking in front of crowds," Emma admitted, taking her coffee. "Just talk to them like you used to talk to me," Liam said, squeezing her hand. "About dreams and possibilities and not being afraid to try." Inside, Martha was arranging flowers with Maria's daughter, while Mike set up chairs in the event space. The store had become more than just a business. It was the heart of their growing Dreammakers family. James arrived early, carrying his 1-year-old daughter, Lucy. "The press is already gathering outside the main office," he reported, "but I thought my favorite niece should see where it all started first." Emma took Lucy, who immediately reached for the colorful books displayed nearby. "Hard to believe how much has changed in 2 years," she said, watching the baby's fascination with the pictures. "All because my brother was terrible at dating," James teased, but his eyes were warm. The past year had transformed him as much as it had transformed them all. The door chimed as Dreammakers recipients began arriving, not just from their city, now but from all over the world. A woman from Kenya who'd started a mobile library, a man from Brazil who'd created a network of community gardens, a group of young entrepreneurs from India who were revolutionizing rural education. They all had different stories, different dreams, but they shared the same light in their eyes, the light of people who had been given a chance to make their dreams real. Mrs. Whitmore, a teenage girl, approached Emma shyly. "I wanted to thank you. My mom got her bakery through Dreammakers last month. She's already hired 3 people from our neighborhood." Emma smiled, remembering her own early days of hoping and planning. "What's your dream?" she asked the girl. "I want to be a writer. Mum says I can use the bakery's quiet hours to work on my stories. Then you'll need this." Emma went to a special shelf and pulled out a journal. Every dream starts with a blank page waiting to be filled. As the girl hugged the journal to her chest, Liam watched his wife with pride. Emma had insisted that every Dreammakers office include a bookstore component, not just for selling books, but for nurturing the dreamers who came looking for hope. The morning progressed into a celebration of dreams. People shared stories of success and setback, of help received and help given. Martha's cinnamon rolls were passed around, Sarah's cafe provided endless coffee, and the community they had built grew stronger with each shared moment. When it was time for the official ceremony, Emma stood at the podium, looking out at the faces of dreamers from around the world. Liam stood beside her, just as he had that first night in the diner. 2 years ago, she began, I was a waitress with a dream of owning a bookstore. I didn't know then that dreams have a way of growing when you share them with others. I didn't know that sometimes the biggest dreams start with something as simple as a cup of coffee and a conversation. She looked at Liam, who smiled encouragingly. My husband taught me that true success isn't measured by how much you have, but by how many people you help along the way. Together, we learned that every dream matters, every story deserves to be heard, and everyone deserves a chance to make their dreams come true. The applause was thunderous, but Emma barely heard it. She was lost in memories of late nights planning in the diner, of first kisses and hidden truths, of Paris sunsets and promises kept, of a love that had started with a lie, but had grown into something more true than either of them could have imagined. Later that evening, after the crowds had gone and the press had packed up their cameras, Emma and Liam sat in their favorite corner of the bookstore. Martha was upstairs in the new apartment they'd built, probably spoiling Lucy with another bedtime story. The sounds of the city drifted in through the open window, familiar and comforting. Do you ever miss it? Emma asked. Being just Liam, the business advisor. No, he said honestly, because now I get to be just Liam, your husband, the man who gets to help make dreams come true. That's better than any role I've ever played. Emma curled into his side, breathing in the scent of books and coffee and home. We should visit Paris again soon, check on the European expansion. Already planned, Liam said, for our anniversary, though this time we might need to book an extra seat. Emma's hand went to her stomach, still flat, but holding their newest dream. Think the world is ready for another Whitmore dreamer, with you as their mother. They'll probably be running the whole initiative by the time they're 20. They sat in comfortable silence, surrounded by books and memories and the promise of tomorrow. Outside, the city was full of dreamers, some just beginning their journey, others already seeing their dreams take shape. And in every dreammaker's office around the world, a new story was waiting to begin. I love you, Emma said softly. Not the billionaire, not the CEO, just you. And I love you, Liam replied. Not the successful businesswoman, not the global initiative director, just the dreamer who served me coffee and changed my whole world. As the evening star appeared outside their window, they held each other close, knowing that some dreams, like true love, only get bigger and better with time. Their story had started with a simple cup of coffee and a hidden truth, but it had grown into something far more powerful. Proof that when dreams and love come together, anything is possible. The end.